This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carinante. Slow show Monday. We were like, man, doing podcasts during this part of the Yankees offseason when the Yankees are dedicated to not making moves until they can clear Marcus Stroman. Why even do them? Hashtag why do podcast. But then all of a sudden, between Monday and Wednesday, news out the wazoo. Tommy Kahnle to the Detroit Tigers. Insta react. This was like an hour ago. We'll talk about it. The Padres dangling Michael King, we talked about the other day. But the Astros maybe getting in our way on an infield target. Hal Steinbrenner crying poor about the Dodgers and cementing the fact that an era in Yankees history that spans about 100 years is over. The Yankees are still special, but not that special. We'll talk about that, unfortunately. Outfield alignment. Jason Dominguez goes where? Cody Bellinger goes where? Who's responsible for bringing Cody Bellinger in? And why is Jeff Passan roasting us? Plus, Marcus Stroman clearing his Instagram. He could get traded at any moment, and hopefully it happens while we're live on the show. Thomas Carinante, did I miss anything? Thank you, everyone, for joining us on a special day, a Wednesday, 2 o'clock Eastern. We will not be live tomorrow. We will be back live next week, twice next week, Monday and Thursday on YouTube. Keep an eye out. No audio feed next week. Only on YouTube. If you like the show, join us on the video side of things. Ooh, Thomas, where do we start? I guess we got to give Tommy Kahnle his flowers. Great pitcher, Great man. No one the Yankees need to lose sleep over. No one who is ever coming back to the 2025 Yankees for a fourth tenure with the team. Fastball plus elite changeup. Loved that version of Tommy Kahnle. Just elite changeup. Didn't love that one, but great moments last year. The numbers are better than you likely remember. Much like Anthony Rizzo, the last time we saw him, not what we want to remember him by.
Yeah, I am. So I'm fine with it. I'm also partially upset because the reason I thought that Tommy Kahnle was not returning, and again, I don't think his return was needed. Like, for example, if Luke Weaver was hitting free agency this offseason, that would have been non-negotiable. It's like, this guy has to come back. As much as I like Tommy Kahnle and think that he's a good fit for the bullpen when he's healthy. The health is an issue. It's always been like, even last year, 42 and 2/3 innings. It's just not enough. It's not a lot of a workload for someone who's supposed to be logging high leverage innings from 7 to 9 and then extras if the situation called for it. But I thought his return or his potential inability to return was due to the Yankees not wanting to go multi-years at a higher rate. So I sat there and I said, look, Tommy Kahnle going into his age 35 season, I don't need this to be a 2 or 3 year deal. We've already signed him to a multi-year deal after he came off that season where he was injured with the Dodgers. And again, got limited production out of him in 2023. He also had a lot of trouble with inherited runners in 2023 and struggled a bit with that in 2024. But now I look at the final terms of the deal, and it's 1 year and almost $8 million. And it's just like, why? If you needed a bullpen arm and you're not confident in the group that you have, like, why would you not make that deal? It gives you financial flexibility for next offseason. It gives you, say, God forbid, the Yankees are out of the playoffs or having trouble in the race come July. Like, that's a trade candidate. 1 year, the remaining $3.5 million on his contract. Like, it's not an immovable piece. So just confused because the Tigers have not spent at all this offseason outside of signing Gleyber Torres and Alex Cobb, and they have been hesitant to make any additions. And now you're telling me that they're essentially going higher than the Yankees would prefer on a valuable bullpen target. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Again, I just want answers to whatever they're doing right now.
Essentially a 45 inning per season guy at this point. Yeah. That's what he was the last 2 years with the Yankees. About a K per inning, better regular season arm than a postseason arm when the Dodgers were just able to sit on that changeup, which is less elite when you see it 19, 20 times in a row. But incredible, gutsy game 4 of the ALCS this year from Kahnle, closing that one out with nobody else in the bullpen. 2 guys on and 1 out, 2 getting out of that jam. Like we talked about the other day, John Birdie clanging the ball, almost falling on his face and still making the play. Very memorable postseason win. very memorable Yankee career. Drafted by the Yankees, goes to Colorado, comes back in the David Robertson trade. He was unbelievable in 2017. So never forget 2017.
The best.
17, 18, 19. He lost his way and then found it again. Got injured in 2020. The Dodgers paid for his Tommy John rehab. And then he came on back and he was choosing between the Yankees and the Red Sox, and he chose correctly. So the third engagement was not quite as incredible as the second one. The first one of just him developing with the Yankees is not terribly memorable, but it did happen. So yeah, shout out to Canely for getting that bag, although it's just a moderate bag. And I guess if these bullpen arms are available at $7.75 million, where are we on this? The Tigers are willing to spend $15 million for Alex Cobb and $15 million for Gleyber Torres and just under $8 million for Tommy Canely. That's, not insignificant expenditures, $40 million on pieces that I would say move the needle only slightly for the Detroit Tigers. So if they're willing to make marginal upgrades, but not Bregman, we've made a significant number of upgrades in New York. The Fernando Cruz trade probably sealed Canely's fate. We need lefties, not righties. I get it. But if you're not going to do Canely, then do something else. And we did get answers to that one when Hal Steinbrenner talked to the Yes Network. Unfortunately, last night on a hot stove, and good job by Hal and appearing on the very safe location. Yes Network, not exactly. Hal really taking the tough questions, choosing between 60 Minutes or Yes Network. He ultimately decided on the Hot Stove Show. And the quote that's going around and is going around correctly so is about the Dodgers spending and how other teams can keep up with the Dodgers. So the Yankees will never get sympathy from anybody. It's not going to happen regarding spending and how much they're able to give. And they're certainly not going to be able to stick up for the problem with the Yankees is Hal Steinbrenner wants to stick up for the little man here while being a behemoth, the team that tortured these other teams for 40, 50, 60 years under his father, and the team that reinvests a middling percentage of their total revenue back into the team. So there are teams that don't have the revenue. Like the Brewers owner has every right to say, we got to take a look at what the Dodgers are doing and whether or not this is right for baseball. And I obviously am sympathetic. We were talking about about a week ago when Kirby Yates gets signed and it gets prematurely announced. We were like, really? You're going to say the Dodgers are cheating baseball? Like Kirby Yates was available for 3 months and nobody signed him. And then you see the contract figures last night and you're like, $14 million for 1 year, Kirby Yates? Yeah, nope, that's another Dodgers advantage. Not every team can do that, and most teams shouldn't. The Pirates should not sign Kirby Yates for $14 million. Pirates should sign Kirby Yates for $8 million, but 14, that is significant. It's going to hamstring them from doing other things. Also, that just doesn't align with his values. So why would they? So another thing the Dodgers can do that most teams can't, but the Yankees are not one of the teams that can't. If Hal Steinbrenner sold today, the Yankees could find owners more than likely who would be right up there with the Mets and Dodgers in terms of disrespecting the taxes that escalate, just not caring. I $27 million for Kirby Yates, all in on that tax included. The Dodgers do not care. The Yankees under Hal Steinbrenner will always care. The quote, it's difficult for most of us owners to be able to do the kinds of things they're doing. We'll see if it pays off. They still have to have a season relatively injury-free for it to work out for them. Well, no, that second part's not true. They were inundated with injuries last year, and it didn't matter because they had enough talent that they'd spent enough money on to cobble together a rotation and bullpen and lineup, powerhouse lineup, top to bottom. Freddie Freeman was injured. Shohei Ohtani was injured. It does not matter if you have that much talent. And they whipped you in the World Series in 5 games. So that's not true, but I hear you. But it's difficult for most of us owners to be able to do the kinds of things they're doing. It's difficult for many owners. You are one of the owners where it's not difficult for you to do it. So Dodger fans taking a victory lap saying, Hal, we broke him. The Dodgers broke Hal. No, this is who he's always been. He spends a lot. He caps himself at a certain point, doesn't want to go past that point. He'll say things that are empirically true, but you just don't want to hear them coming from the Yankees owner. You shouldn't need a $300 million payroll to win. Absolutely. But you can have one. And with your current payroll constraints, you probably do need one. So you should keep building on your current payroll instead of crying about it. And then most of us can't do what the Dodgers do. Yes, most owners can't do what the Dodgers do, but you are not us. You are them, or you should be if you were planning to reinvest the profits accurately and adequately and to the same scale as other franchises are doing in your team. So the Yankees are making profits. The Yankees are spending. They're not spending enough. And these things where they just sign Stroman and let it hamstring them for this year and beyond. It's just, it's nice to have a direct example of this nonsense while Hal is making comments like this. I don't know what sympathy he's trying to elicit or trying to do an us versus them Dodgers thing. I like the pivot. I like what they've done this offseason, but objectively the gap has grown between them and the Dodgers. And so now what's the plan? You hope you don't face them. I mean, this is not the time to be taking a victory lap and saying us versus them, us and the Pirates and the Brewers and the Reds versus the bad Dodgers. It's just not the time for it.
He's like, oh man, me and Stuart Sternberg, this sucks.
Yeah,
what am I gonna
we
do?
share a stadium now. We share a spring training stadium, and we've been really talking, and we don't like what the Dodgers are getting up to. We don't like the cut of their jib. It's like, dude, it's your jib. It's also your jib.
I will start this off with this piece of information. What the Dodgers are doing is something we've never seen before. It's never been seen. Never seen a team spend like this. Never seen a team defer money like this. Never seen a team with this powerful of an ownership group, right? That could be true. It totally is true. It's the reality of what we're doing. They've turned themselves into a destination where players will want to go there, and and they don't care about, being the guy or being the lone person in the spotlight. So they have created a unique landing spot for a lot of players. And the Yankees were once upon a time that, but as time has gone on for the Yankees, and this could eventually become the case for the Dodgers, was that the spotlight got too big in New York. Players, free agents, and whatnot got fed up with the unforgiving media, got fed up with the pressure. And then at that point, the Yankees had, I guess, previously believed like, oh, we're the Yankees. Players want to come here. We're the fucking New York Yankees. Yeah, come here. You'll take less money, whatever. Nobody wants less money. Everybody wants all of the money that they could possibly get. And they certainly want all of the money from the big market teams that can pay for it. And they certainly want all of the money if they're going to deal with all the residual shit that comes with playing in a big market with an unforgiving media. So the Dodgers have cracked the code. They are paying out the wazoo. They're attracting talent. They are throwing caution to the wind. They don't care. It's tough to deal with. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hal Steinbrenner, like you said, is not in a situation where the Dodgers are in a completely different atmosphere. They are a rung or two above the Yankees. Yes, of course. But there is not a gap this wide. It's Dodgers, Mets, Yankees. So it's really not as significant as everybody's playing it out to be. The Yankees could defer payments on a couple of contracts and help themselves out. They don't do that. Look at here's actually an example of what makes the most sense in terms of player development and making tough roster decisions, right? So the Dodgers had the number one overall prospect in baseball, Gavin Lux, for years. He turned out to be an adequate major leaguer, wasn't really quite exactly where they needed him to be, so he got traded this offseason. Former number one prospect in baseball who could have been a starting shortstop. This year, depending on how his recovery from ACL surgery went, if his range was back, whatever. They said, we're not waiting for that. We know Gavin Lux is good. We could do better. We're going to move Mookie Betts to the infield, and we're going to sign Ha-Seong Kim. Okay, great. What did the Dodgers do 3 off seasons ago? Cody Bellinger entering his third year of arbitration eligibility. Cody Bellinger, MVP-type caliber player, had a really bad year for us and a down year the year before. Do we need to keep wasting our time with this? Or can we just cut bait with Cody Bellinger and move on and be better off from it? The Dodgers made a heartless decision, and they let him go. What'd they do 2 off seasons or an off season before that? They let go of Jock Peterson and Kike Hernandez, and they decided to upgrade in ways that they felt were better. Did it immediately benefit them in that next season? No, but it led to a path for them to get one of those guys back, and it also led to a path for them to create space on their roster to upgrade further. What have the Yankees done? They stuck with Domingo Germán for 6 years when they didn't need to. They stuck with Aaron Hicks for 2 years too long when they didn't need to. They stuck with Luis Severino for an extra 2 years when they didn't need to. They stuck with Josh Donaldson for an extra year when they didn't need to. The Yankees allow these problems that they have on their roster to fester because they are larger financial commitments that they can't bear to see become a loss. It's not an option for them. The Dodgers have figured out a way where they can say, all right, don't really care about this player's reputation. Like, the Dodgers have operated within reason, but they were also a little bit cutthroat. Like, the time for Cody Bellinger in LA, it was done. It was a harsh move to make, but it was done. Jock Peterson and Kike Hernandez, they felt they had priced their way out of LA. The Dodgers said, go search for other options. We're going to figure it out. Like, this is not where we want to spend money. Gavin Lux, homegrown talent. We liked what you've done for us, but we think that there's just a better way for us to do this, and we're going to give you an opportunity somewhere else. We're going to trade you to the Reds, who are an upstart team with one of the best managers in the sport. So,
bunch of young go-getters.
Yeah, so I mean, like, the Yankees don't make those decisions, and that's the problem. The problem is, they don't realize when a certain relationship has taken a turn for the worse, and you need to cut the cord sooner rather than later. The Yankees will let it burn. They let both sides of the candle burn until it's a puddle of wax everywhere and it's a giant mess. And it's not the way to do business. Well, again, if you're the Brewers and you fucked up and you signed Christian Yelich to a long-term deal, well, they didn't fuck up. He just happened to have a debilitating back injury. There's nothing you could do about that at that point, right? You made the investment. You did what you could. You're a mid-market team that doesn't bring in that much revenue, that doesn't have a top-tier attendance. It is what it is. The Yankees are an international brand. They have a top 2 or 3 attendance every single year. They sell among the most merch, if not the most merch. They are I don't even know how to describe them, but they're omnipresent in everybody's household when it comes to sports, whether you love them or you hate them. They are a recognizable brand across the globe. So no, you are not dealing with the same restraints as some of these other owners. I understand that the implementation of the Cohen tax is a problem. You are paying double every single dollar you spend over that threshold, which this year is $301 million. So if the Yankees spend $302 million, they will actually be billed an additional $1.1 million on top of that, because that's just what it costs. So are we saying blow by that tax number and start offering $25 million contracts that turn into $50 million contracts? No, it's just stop drawing a line in the sand where you want to avoid any sort of risk whatsoever and make nice on some of these mistakes that you've made. DJ LeMahieu is here. Marcus Stroman is here. Those are mistakes you made. You decided to sign DJ LeMahieu to a 6-year contract when it could have been 4. Could have been over last season. You wanted to stretch it out to help the AAV so you didn't go over the tax too many times. I don't know what to tell you about that. That's your mistake. You signed Marcus Stroman last offseason because you couldn't secure Blake Snell because you didn't want to offer him another $30 or $40 million. And instead you offer Marcus Stroman a 2-year deal with a complicated vesting option, a pitcher who pitches to contact, and you have a shitty defense behind him. So not Marcus Stroman's fault. Also not DJ LeMahieu's fault. All of this is sign Aaron Hicks to a 7-year extension when he had a half of a good season. Sign Luis Severino to a 5-year extension when he was promising for a year and a half. Like, what are we doing? You guys are making mistakes on the personnel level. It goes all the way down to the draft. It goes all the way down to international scouting. Like, we understand it's hard. No one's ever going to deny that this is this is not a hard job. You need all these moving parts to work correctly and in unison. But at the end of the day, when you have the ability to right wrongs with money, that's your advantage. And the Yankees don't do that. They famously don't do that. They famously try to lowball people, even their own players. They tried to do it with Aaron Judge. And again, the only big free agent expenditures since Garrett Cole, and even before Garrett Cole, it was Tanaka and McCann and Beltran that year. You have Garrett Cole, you have Carlos Rodon, and you have Max Fried. So the safest investments you could make, and they managed to fuck one up royally because Carlos Rodon is turning out to be a giant waste of money unless he could figure it out in year 3. But Garrett Cole, you needed a starter. You paid him. Max Fried. Also, the money to spend is on starting pitching because that's the most value. That's the most you're going to get a return on your investment. So the Yankees they can't be crying about what the Dodgers are doing because they have the ability to at least, I'm not saying be the Dodgers, manipulate some of what the Dodgers are doing and you'll be in a fine spot. You won't have to worry about this getting to a point and snowballing where the Dodgers have the utmost edge over you. But you've set the table for this to happen for the last 5 years, and now you have no excuse for it. So I don't care. I know Hal Steinbrenner needs to speak. It is good when owners speak, but usually when he does, it's not received well. Like when he came out in 2021 and he blamed the players for not performing up to standard. And it's like, yes, of course, that is the problem. But have you also noticed we keep changing Aaron Boone's coaching staff? Is that an issue? Why do we keep changing every coach around him? Have you noticed that players keep regressing inexplicably and it doesn't make sense? Have you noticed that every trade acquisition sucks shit? So, I mean, whose fault is that? Again, it's not just on the players. We will blame the players when we need to blame the players. Aaron Judge got the blame for this entire postseason. I hate it. It makes me sick. We are ignoring one of the greatest offensive seasons of all time in 2024 because of his inability to show up essentially at all in the playoffs. But he got what was coming to him, and we've talked about it, and it was a difficult conversation, and now we've moved on. Now this is looking inward for Yankees ownership and front office, and absolutely unacceptable that you're coming forward and you're going to whine about the Dodgers.
And I hate comments like Verlis Gwyn here saying it's Hal's money, not yours. Everyone wants all the money they can get. So does Hal. Yeah, I know. And even going outside of the social contract of it all, where if you buy a baseball team or a professional sports team, the expectation is you are doing so in order to deliver the fans a championship, not your personal profit.
It's not an investment property.
And that personal profit will come along with winning. But even ignoring that social contract, you just want to say people should be pure evil. People should get these. Yeah, people should buy the Royals as an investment property, and people should be greedy. Of course, people are going to be greedy. I understand. But you know what helps profit? Investing your resources in the team typically rewards you with additional profit. And winning a championship sure as shit does. Selling championship merch, packing the ballpark. You make your team less beloved. You give fans less faith in your team. You do not get as much gate revenue and merchandise revenue from those fans. These go hand in hand. And winning a championship, think about the financial windfall of it. Think about the financial windfall of the Dodgers agreeing with Shohei Ohtani, which led to Yoshinobu Yamamoto, which led to Roki Sasaki, which led to 40 overseas deals at minimum. A new one seems to get announced every single day, new revenue streams. So the players have to want to go there. Ohtani did not want to go to the Yankees in 2017, did not want to go to the Yankees last winter. It is what it is. But if you reinvest your resources in your franchise, more players like Ohtani will view your franchise as one that will go as far as possible to compete for a championship. And then beyond that, given the great financial strength that they operate with, and those players will start saying, I want to go to the New York Yankees. They are going to give me a lot of money, and they're going to give other people lots of money too. And they're going to reinvest the massive profits that we help bring them in the team to make sure that the franchise competes for a championship. So profit goes hand in hand with winning. A lot of owners don't understand that and don't seem to care, especially not in smaller towns. New York and the Yankees should not be one of them. And all you have to do is look across town to look at a guy like Steve Cohen, who does not give two shits about how much tax he pays and keeps profiting hand over fist because he made the Mets competitive. The fans have responded in kind. And the Mets are a commodity and a brand, and people are choosing them over the Yankees. I like the Yankees post Juan Soto pivot. Juan Soto did choose the Mets. He did not choose the Yankees. Why is that? Is it because one owner is willing to go above and beyond and the other owner says there's no way we can do what the Dodgers do? Probably. And so to put a finer point on it, here we are with Marcus Stroman clearing his Instagram, and the New York Yankees again cannot possibly fathom affording $2 million for a completely acceptable starter. No. Oh my God! Like, and we're not talking about a bust here. That's the craziest thing. Like,
Marcus, we're talking about a guy with a bad second half,
quirky personality, a guy we didn't think the Yankees would gel or mesh with in the first place, but then they decided to last offseason, and they got him at a relative discount given the price of pitching. Alex Cobb at $15 million a year or Marcus Stroman at $18 million a year. One of those guys on the downside of his career and said, if I hadn't gotten paid by the Tigers, I thought I was going to retire. One of them is a recent all-star who put up 100 great innings in the first part of last season and then, yes, fell apart down the stretch, blamed the defense, certainly partially. you can blame the bad defense behind him as a ground ball pitcher. Some of it's on Stroman too. He was getting hit hard. He wasn't locating. The quality of the stuff was down. And by the postseason, he become a non-factor. But I would pay, if I'm the New York Yankees, I have endless financial resources. I know that pitchers get hurt and they break, and that's what they do. And I need as many of them as I possibly can. I would pay $18 million for someone like Marcus Stroman who can get me through May and June and July, even if he's not around in October. He can give me 90 innings of high-quality baseball. When the Yankees were really rolling with the rotation in May, he was a huge part of it. He had like a low 2s ERA. He was great. End of the year cold, and going into the offseason, he's now essentially the de facto 6th starter. But they've made it extremely clear they are not reinvesting in this roster without deleting Stroman from the payroll. And you're not going to get anybody to eat the $18 million. Maybe someone will eat 6 or 8 or 10. The Yankees are still going to have to pay up, but they won't even sign a Jorge Polanco type until they can get Stroman's money off the roster. And they're getting cucked by the Astros on Jorge Polanco, who, if you poll all Yankee fans, what's the percentage of people that say they want Jorge Polanco like 2 weeks ago? 20, 24? It's people accepting that, okay, we're shopping in the Jorge Polanco, Brendan Rodgers, Paul DeYoung bucket, so I'll take Polanco. The Astros have Isaac Paredes at third, Jeremy Pena at short, Jose Altuve at second, Christian Walker at first. They want Alex Bregman, and now they also want Polanco. Bregman would move Altuve to left. Polanco, I guess, would play left. Astros versus Yankees is the more apt comparison than Dodgers versus Yankees at this point, given the history of the rivalry over the past half decade plus. A lot of people have compared the Yankees to the Bills the past week or so because the Bills are a fantastic regular season team, a solid playoff team. When they face the Kansas City Chiefs, they cannot beat them. When the Yankees face the Houston Astros, they cannot beat them. And what does it say? That a team like the Astros that got embarrassed in the first round of the playoffs last year, it swept at home in 2 games. They are like, we are, we're doing a hardline stance here with Alex Bregman. We're willing to, but we'd also like him back. And our second baseman, who's our captain, will move to left field if that helps. And also, we're looking at another infielder to give us 6 viable star infield options if all of this pans out, at least 5. And the Yankees are saying all we need is 3. DJ LeMahieu can be our third baseman. We kind of forgot to get a third baseman. We don't need 4 infield positions. It's just not important for us to have that. And if we do get a 4th infielder, which is the number of infielders that exist on a baseball team in a lineup at any point in time, in order to get a 4th, we're going to have to get rid of one of our pitchers who helped carry us May and June last year. So that says it all to me, what the Astros are willing to do, bending over backwards to do. The Yankees are holding themselves back from even the low part of the market right now until they can deal someone who does have value. But again, both sides have to want to participate. I don't think Marcus Stroman wants to be a number 6 starter. And I definitely don't think that, if he's wiping his Instagram, he's not coming back.
Yeah. I mean, we wouldn't be having this conversation again if the Yankees utilized him properly, managed his workload properly. There needs to be a lineup. There needs to be lineup changes if Marcus Stroman's playing. The defense needs to be tighter. I don't know why this is so hard. And you're alluding to the incomplete lineup too. Like, they do this every year. If we want to talk a little bit more about Jorge Polanco, like last year they forgot center field.
I didn't even mention an infield option that just came off the board during this podcast because I knew Ha-Seong Kim, a pretty good fit for the Yankees. Not a power first guy, utility type, but a guy who's got offensive prowess and who's been considered. People have talked for a while about let's get him out of San Diego. There was a Red Sox trade rumor last year. Is he getting squeezed out of San Diego? Who could take advantage? He's not going to be ready for the start of the year. He had shoulder surgery. And even with that shoulder surgery, I noticed how I talked about Polanco and Brendan Rodgers because I just knew the Yankees wouldn't pay for 5 months of Ha-Seong Kim. And he goes to the Tampa Bay Rays during this podcast. The Rays are willing to take that chance. 2 years, $29 million. That's not much, but it's too rich for our blood. And it's double our blood. It makes our blood look like a homo.
Again. Yeah. I mean, the Rays can, I guess, on the surface afford to do that because their payroll is so low. So this is barely a hit for them. But still, I'm not going to sympathize with the Yankees. Again, the Yankees have space before the Cohen tax. They have like $14 million in payroll flexibility right now, and they're just not utilizing any of it. So while Kim would have been a great piece, I'm not going to get too on them for missing out on him, because if he's not ready by opening day, I don't see the point. I don't want to mix somebody in come June or July and then have them take months to get back on board. I think it's a good deal for someone like the Rays, who have the flexibility in their infield and play really good defense. So props to them, I guess. But every year, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I think we're underrating the Rays this year, and I think this adds to it.
I think the Rays are going to be a pain in the ass. But yeah, if you notice, every year the Yankees forget a position. So they bring in Juan Soto last year, and I understand that was a luxury acquisition, and Aaron Judge is the right fielder, and there's kind of no way that you can get around it. So they put Aaron Judge in center field. But Aaron Judge isn't a center fielder, so they don't really have a center fielder, and Aaron Judge plays there all year, and it's a version of wear and tear on his body. But then you could also argue that they didn't really have a third baseman because it was a platoon with DJ LeMahieu and Oswaldo Cabrera, and they're doing that again this year. So they don't have a third baseman if we're to actually put together a starting roster on one of the richest teams in the league. Like, the fact that they're doing this with any position is embarrassing. You could argue they don't have a left fielder because Jason Dominguez does not play left field, never has. So now they're putting him out of position. But even if you go back as far as 2023, no left field solution. They just, we'll put Oswaldo Cabrera out there because he played right field good a few times the year prior. Nope, that's not going to work. Year before that, the infamous let's put Isaiah Kiner-Falefa at shortstop as our stopgap, even though he's not a shortstop. And let's continue to play Aaron Hicks in the outfield when he can't play. So that's good. So, and you have Joey Gallo on this team as well. So you essentially have three positions here that are going neglected in some capacity. You go back to 2021, and it's crazy to say that this might have been the most complete the Yankees have been in recent years. It was Gary, Rizzo, LeMahieu at second, Torres at shortstop, Gio at third, Gallo in left after the trade deadline, Gardner in center, Judge in right. But the story of what the Yankees are doing in the modern era is they're capping their spending in some capacity, and they are not solving the problems early enough in the offseason to allow them to be flexible. They put themselves in a box and they say, all right, well, we'll do X, Y, and Z, but if that puts us too close to the tax number, then we're just going to have to wait around and wait for people to get traded. But then teams are going to realize that the only reason that we're looking to trade somebody is for salary relief. So then we're going to lose leverage in trade talks, and then it's going to make our lives more and more difficult. So again, this is not how a big market team operates. This is how a mid-market team operates when they get close to the tax. This is how, this is what the Cardinals are doing. The Cardinals are not making any moves because they want to clear salary, and the jig is up. Nobody fucking wants to help the Cardinals and take on their shitty contracts. Nobody wants Steven Matz's 4 years, $44 million contract. Who the fuck wants that, even if it's discounted? No one wants Nolan Arenado's remaining money because they know that the Cardinals just want to offload him. And it's a 3-year commitment for an aging player. And I like Nolan Arenado, but I can see why teams wouldn't want him. And they don't want to trade their younger players. So it's like, all right, man, you can't have it every which way. And unless you're able to make concessions on your end, whether it's parting with a prospect for somebody to take on all the salary or eating some of the money, no one's going to do business with you. And I am surprised each and every year that teams continue to do business with the Yankees because they are an infinite pain in the ass. Look how long the Soto trade talk. They wanted to omit Michael King from the Soto trade talks last year, if we're to believe reports, and objectively ridiculous. Michael King's a 30-year-old starter who's never had a full season of starting under his belt. That was going to be the deal breaker in the trade talks. The Yankees and the Cubs spent weeks upon weeks deciding on a Cody Bellinger deal. And I know the Yankees came out on top there, but if I'm another front office, I'm I'm not dealing with this team. They want to give me Cody Poteet and they want to get money from us. What the fuck? So the fact that they keep putting themselves in this position is I don't know. They don't make any cutthroat moves. They don't go over the top. Anytime it's Marcus Stroman was the over-the-top move last offseason. And the over-the-top move was supposed to be Blake Snell. And they capped themselves on Blake Snell. They said, well, We feel 150 million is the most. And guess what? We might have agreed with that at the time. We might have said $150 million is a lot of money for Blake Snell. And he's kind of dinged up, so we get it. But if you are the Yankees and you are sitting there and you know what it takes to secure a free agent and you really want that free agent, then you have to say, yeah, fuck it, another 30 million. And they don't do that. They don't do that anymore. They did it with, they're doing it by extending contracts. They did it with DJ by doing it to 6 years. They did it with Fried by giving him 8 years. They did it with Rodon by giving him 6 years. So that's the way that they're doing business. And I understand in some capacity it works, but you have to be a little bit more flexible, and they're not doing that. So now they back themselves into a corner, and it's all going to be contingent on getting rid of the next salary that they deem is appropriate. And I guess it's Marcus Stroman, because when Marcus Stroman makes a statement on social media, that's where he's probably, being the most honest. We've seen him go off on social media previously. So
imagine unfollowing your team and then not getting traded, just showing up at spring training. Like, you can't do that. They try to tag you in like the spring training arrival posts. Like, look at all this drip. And they're like, I actually can't find Marcus. I think he blocked us. Like, you can't have that. You can't have a player blocking or unfollowing your team. So he's got to go. But I mean, look, I'd rather have Marcus Stroman at 18 million than Steven Matz at 11. Matz made 12 starts last year and he was terrible.
Yeah. Either way, it goes back to the house stuff, and you're drawing a line in the sand with what you're willing to spend, regardless of what the revenue is, regardless of how far your team went, regardless of how close you are to toppling the opposition. And it's not a winning formula. It's not a winning formula for where you are. You are a big market team. You are a behemoth. Need to act like it. Again, if this conversation is about a mid-market team, we can at least understand. And we know there's manipulation among those teams. The Guardians have a top 3, top 5 ownership group in terms of net worth. And where's that payroll every year? Again, that's a separate conversation. The Guardians are not an international brand. They're not a household name. They have a rich history, but they're not a destination by any means. The Yankees are a destination with everything that they have the wind at their back, and they decide to create obstacles left and right.
Yeah, they love to create obstacles. We'll be back here next week to hopefully talk about how they solve some of those obstacles, but maybe not. Who knows? Look, if we're to believe it, Aaron Judge certainly has led the way on a number of acquisitions in recent years. There was even a rumor floating around, it was written about by Hubs on Barstool today, that Aaron Judge and the veterans linked up to stop the DFAing of DJ LeMahieu last fall when Jason Dominguez was coming up.
Who wrote that?
They didn't want to see him go out like that. Hubs, Barstool, just like about an hour ago. So, okay. And we know Judge was behind the Goldschmidt edition. We know Judge, according to Hal Steinbrenner, was behind the Bellinger edition. Don't know whether Judge was part of the committee that agreed that Bellinger is playing center and Jason Dominguez is playing left field, a position that he's never played well before in his life. Played there last year and was, in fact, terrible at it and didn't really get an opportunity in the postseason because of how bad he was. So I'm trying to stay optimistic. I really am. But when you've got the front office being hamstrung by Hal Steinbrenner, you've got the front office being unable to get creative. You've got Hal Steinbrenner being unable or unwilling to access all these revenue streams that come contingent on spending big on the top talent in the game as well as winning championships. He's not unlocking these achievements. And then you've got the team woefully incomplete on the field. And this is coming from someone who liked the pivot. I like the moves. I like what we saw, but why are we stopping now? So
it's big market budgeting.
Yeah, we got until the end of January before we had a truly angry, abhorrent podcast. But in December, when they're signing Paul Goldschmidt, I'm going, okay, I actually like this move. I prefer it over the alternatives. There are even rumors that Judge likes Arenado, and we'll see if maybe he starts getting antsy and pushes for an additional make or break move on his GM resume. He's not exactly, I don't know who's worse, him or LeBron. Like I was going to say, he's not exactly LeBron in the GM department, but has LeBron ever made a good GMing move? He brought in Dwayne Wade to Cleveland as like a 40-year-old man. Like, do we give LeBron credit for the big three or not? I don't know. What do we give Judge credit for? He just keeps bringing in definitely people who are big, but who
Verdugo.
Yeah, the big one, Alex Verdugo. But look, a lot of this season is going to fall on Judge's shoulders. A lot of the legacy stuff is going to fall on Judge's shoulders, but it should fall on Hal as well. And he's telling you it should fall on him because he's telling you The Yankees are not the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are the champions and the gold standard. So if the owner is saying we're not them and we can't be, he's giving away the ending. He is giving away the ending. He is saying we are not going to try as hard as the team that is the champion and the gold standard. So what more do you need to know? For everyone in the comments defending Hal and the amount of money he spends. That is it for this show. We will see you back here on Monday, taking the rest of the week off, afternoon, 2 o'clock Eastern, and Thursday next week. If you like the video feed, we hope you do. Subscribe here, rate, review us, give us a thumbs up. If you like the video feed so much you want to listen to it, go to the audio feed, give us a podcast review, any podcast platform. We are there. I am Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carinante, where can the people find you?
You know, it's at Tommy's_takes. We are both at the official Yanks Go Yard account at Yanks Go Yard FS. You can go defend Hal there if you want. We know he spends, but sometimes you got to do a little bit more. Head on over to yanksgoyard.com. Plenty of Hal content coming on there. You could take that and bring it to social media and we could talk about it. We are going to stay up to date with everything. We are keeping you guys informed on yanksgoyard.com. Plenty of content there that we don't talk about on the podcast, so please head on there, give us some reads. We appreciate you guys tuning in and reading the site, of course. We'll talk to you again next week, hanging out. Yeah. I don't know. Glad we got this episode in when the Canely news happened. Glad we got this in after the Steinbrenner interview and the Marcus Stroman scrubbing of social media. There will hopefully be more stuff on the horizon. We'll be sure to keep you in the loop with everything. And until then, we will see you. Let's go Yanks.
Take care, everybody. Peace. See you back here next week.